Let's go over the solution for how to deploy and update an application in Bluemix using the Cloud Foundry command line interface. So let's first launch a browser and type the URL for Bluemix, which is console.ng.bluemix.net, and then go ahead and log in and put in your user ID and password. Once you are logged in to the Bluemix UI interface, then you would be presented to the dashboard. So go ahead and click on the application that you created in the previous lab and make sure that you are on the Getting Started tab. And this is where you can find the sample code that Bluemix has created for you. So we're going to click on the Download Starter code and we will save it on the hard drive. Once you have downloaded that sample code, go ahead and unzip it on the directory that you chose it to be. And then before we deploy this to Bluemix, let's go ahead and delete the previous deployment. So let's go back to your browser and from the menu option here, click on the delete option. And it will ask you to verify. So the services and the route should already been pre-selected. So we can go ahead and click on the delete button. So now what we are going to do is we are going to launch a terminal interface. And I will go ahead and change the directory where I have downloaded that sample code, which is on my courses directory. And here you can see that the files are here, and make sure there's a package.json in there. So let's go ahead and log into Bluemix. So let's use the command cfl and use the endpoint for US in this case. Or depending on where you're located, then your endpoint would be different. So just substitute that with what is appropriate for you. And then I'll be prompted to put in my credentials. So I'll put in my user ID and password. And also my organization and the space that I want to use, in which case is dev. So now that I'm logged in, I'm getting ready to deploy the application. But before I start deploying the application, I want to make sure that I deploy the cloud and service that is bound to that application. So let's make sure we know what the name of the service is, and we will use the cf marketplace command to see the available services out there. So if you scroll through the list, you will find Cloud and NoSQL database. So that's the name of the service, and here's the service plan that is available for Cloudin. So let's go ahead and create the Cloudin service using the command cfcs, the name of the service, which is Cloudin NoSQL DB, and the service plan is Lite. And I will give it a name, and you can substitute that name with whatever you want to call your Cloudin service. So go ahead and hit enter, and it will go ahead and create that service. So we will give it a few minutes, and once it has been created, we can go back to the Bluemix UI, and if we refresh here, let's go ahead and refresh that. We could see that it has created that Cloudin service that we just create through the command line interface. So now that we already have the service created, we are ready to deploy the application. So we will do that using the cf push command and put in the name of the application, which is BL Workshop SSL, and -c specify the startup command, which is node app.js, and we will assign the memory of 128 megabytes, and add some other option. No manifest, instruct the CL tool to ignore the supply manifest file, which will allow the cloud and database instance that you just created to be linked to the application. And we will add another parameter, which is no start. So what this parameter will do is to instruct the CLI tool not to automatically start the application. The reason we don't want to automatically start is because it needs a database to run. So you must link the cloud and database instance to the application before you start the application, which we will do in the next step. So now that that step is done, let's continue and link the database and the application using the cf command, bs, and then the name of the application. BS is the command to bound the application to the service, and the name of the cloud and service. So now that we've done that, if we go back to the browser and we refresh the UI, you will see that the application and the service are linked, but the application is still stopped. So let's go ahead and open this. And if you go to the overview, you can see that here is being linked to the cloud and database. And since the application is still stopped, we want to go ahead and start it. So we would use the cf start and then the name of the application to do so. Once the application has been started, we want to make sure it works by clicking on the View App button. And here you can see that it is working correctly. So now that we have again deployed the application as is using the sample code that hasn't been changed at all, we will show you how you would go about making changes to the code and then republish to Bluemix. So let's go ahead and open the folder where you have downloaded that sample code, and opened the app.js file in a text editor of your choice. And I am using brackets for my text editor, and we recommend Atom also as one of a text editor that you can use. So let's go ahead and modify the name of the file description, and the value. So I would go to line 344, where the first one that I need to change is going to be. So instead of sample document, I will make that a test document. And for the description, instead of a sample document, it's a test document, and the last value to change here is the value during the database insert. Change that also to a sample document. So I want to go ahead and save the file. So now we will go back to the browser, and we will select the Cloud and Service instance, and then we will launch the Cloud and console. And there should only be one database. Go ahead and select that. And we will delete this document. So in order to do that, click on the edit button, that little pencil, and then click on this little trash can, which will delete the document. So what we would do next is we will redeploy. So we will use the command cf push, the name of the application, and we will still use the same no manifest option. So once the deployment is complete, we want to make sure it works. So let's go back to the browser, into this application, and let's click on the view application. And there you go, you can see that it's been updated. It's now a test document instead of a sample document. So now let's do a little housekeeping and clean up the application. Bring up the command line again. We will use the cfd command to delete this application. The name of the application is BL Workshop SSL, and we will use -R, which will instruct Bluemix to also delete the routes attached to the application. So the application now has been deleted. We will also delete the service, so we will use the command cfds, the name of the service, which in my case here is SL Cloudent, and say yes for the confirmation. So this application and service should both now has been deleted. So in order to confirm that both of them have been deleted, let's go back to the browser and go back to the dashboard. And you can see that the application and the service is no longer there. So to summarize, in this lab, you have learned how to use the Cloud Foundry CLI tool to manage an application, including deployment, binding application services, and deleting the application.